Dr. Phil sits down with former FBI and discuss the challenges that plague the Idaho murder investigation.
You look at this beyond the horrific nature of this crime, these four young people so tragically killed. Is there anything that jumps out at you about it?
We have to consider that this is a town that's not had any homicides in 7 years. It's a university town, 26,000 people live there, but half, at least 13,000, are students.
Right.
So when you think about 4 people dying in one night with horrific slashings, okay, the stabbing of that knife shows a frenzy. So whoever went into that house, if it was targeted towards the human, which is what Kaylee's father believes, started with, in his words, the 2 girls, but then took the time to kill another couple. We don't know if the perpetrator went downstairs or was even aware that there were 2 unharmed people downstairs. So the idea that you have 6 people, it doesn't surprise me that the roommate slept through it, because I know how college kids are when they party on a Saturday night. But to go in and get out, take the knife with him, and leave no trace, because we're going to come up on a month very soon with no suspects. What stands out the most is that I would have guessed this was inner circle, somebody who knew these girls. I think Kaylee and Maddie were probably the targets if it was indeed targeted. And I would have thought that they would have a suspect by now, that they would have an arrest by now. And as time goes on, Dr. Phil, I am more and more convinced that this could be a random stranger, something like the Gainesville Ripper that we saw in Florida 30 years ago.
Right.
As time passes, the odds of that being true do increase.
Well, one of the things that most people don't know, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but the statistics I look at from the FBI is that about 50% of the murders don't ever get solved. And people think, are you kidding me with DNA and all of that? But is that still an accurate number?
Yeah, Dr. Phil, I'd say that it is.
I think a lot of that is because guns are used in 80% of murders now, but this was stabbing, and that means DNA is much more plentiful than if you used a gun from a distance. What jumps out at you about this?
I see a rage killing, and I see somebody that potentially could have started with Kaylee. That's probably why you would see deeper impacts or more ferocious types of knife stabbing wounds. And then as they go from person to person, that would decrease, because killing, which most people don't understand the reality of killing with a knife, is a very violent, it's a very physically exhausting, and also adrenaline exhausting. And by the time you get to a 4th person, you're going to be very exhausted. I think when you look at the totality of the circumstances of this attack, what you see is somebody that I think we're all in agreement, somebody that probably lives, I put it within 3 hours, because if it happened at 3, the sun came up around 7, most likely an attacker would want to be home and would be satiated. This is also a lot about satiation. So the person was probably satiated, exhausted, and didn't want to be out after the sun came up.